Am I on video? I'm on video. Welcome to the Wayward Widow. If I look rough, I should. I woke up a few minutes before 2 o'clock again this morning. I have my black cross on today, and I'm in the spare bedroom because the lighting is just the best in here. How's everybody doing? Let's do the card. Card's a little sticky. I'm not sure why. Did I just do this one? I did do this one. Okay, I'm not going to reread it. I must not have switched out the card. It's okay. I'll do 2 tomorrow. I have my coffee. Just made it. I was just looking over the comments, and I'm going to address a few if I can. Z Lover, you asked why stock up on supplies. I think it's just a like a Boy Scout motto. Like, there have been times the electricity has gone out in the apartment, and if it's an evening and I don't have candles and I don't own a flashlight, like I don't own one flashlight, and you kind of go looking around like, I need a flashlight. And someone said most of these things can be gotten at the Dollar Tree, and you're right. So I think it's just being prepared, like for whatever. There's a bad storm, there's a hurricane, there's a whatever, and we don't have electricity. And with the way the weird storms have been happening, I've heard a couple of government, like army people talking about, being prepared, having the flashlight, having the extra water, and the radio that runs by battery, because we're so used to turning on everything through electricity, and then we don't have electricity, So I don't think it hurts anyone to have a couple flashlights, have a couple extra gallons of water on hand, have some candles, some matches, or a lighter, some snacks, some extra snacks, things that'll last for a while, extra medicines. I always have a first aid kit, like all the stuff. I just think it's being prepared. I think it's what we need to do. I mean, why not? I guess would be more my question. Not why, but why not? Electricity goes out and you can't see, 2 feet in front of you. You grab your flashlight, or you could use your iPhone and the flashlight there, or your Android, and let's hope you're charged, because with no electricity you can't charge your phone. So that's it for that. Man United, you said add spinach and liver. I like spinach in my salads, and I love liver and raw onions, and I haven't bought liver in ages, so that will definitely be a go-to. I do not drink any coffee but decaf. It's the only thing I drink. And it's this one. And this is full to the top with ice. And it's got coffee mate in it, 2 kinds of coffee mate. And rarely do I drink coffee in the evening. Once in a while, I'll get this, I want a half of iced coffee. But it's usually like around this time, which is noontime for me. I went a little light on something there. What was the other one? Oh, the first one of why am I not with my son? Ask my son. He's not in surgery yet. His blood pressure's up. It was up in the 170s for his systolic. They gave him something to bring it down. He's now down in the low 150s, over 91 for diastolic. And, he's nervous, he's anxious. Why am I not with my son? Someone said, I'd be there if it was my son. I would be there like 24/7. Me too. Listen, if I can go into a state prison and visit my son, I can go into a hospital and visit my son, a surgery center. I would be camping out there day and night. Like, I would be so there that he couldn't stand me. He doesn't want me there. He doesn't want anybody there. He doesn't want anybody there, just like he didn't want anybody anywhere near his workplace. He didn't want anybody in his apartment. Why he really doesn't want to live with anybody? Because he spent so much time in prison and so much time in solitary. And I've asked him over and over. I also have literally said, can we FaceTime? He can't do FaceTime. He has an Android. I have an iPhone. But there's this app called Meet. So we both I said, can we do the Meet? Can we do Meet? Because we've done that one other time, like months ago. And so I put it on my phone, and I'm like, hey, can we do a Meet? Well, I've got to get IVs. Mom, it's time for me to eat. There's always a reason. So I have asked him, when are visiting hours? Let me come up. I won't bother you. I won't bug you. I won't mom you to death. The whole 9 yards. He has never, ever, ever allowed me to come to any of the hospitals he has been in. He's like 15 minutes from me. You think it's easy for me to be here as a mom, knowing what he's going through? He's gone through every single thing on his own. He said, I went through the army on my own. I went through prison on my own. I went through jail on my own. I went through all the stuff I went through on my own. And which wasn't true, because I was so involved with the whole prison thing that, But he said, it's hard to explain. Mom, I can't even put it into words. But I just don't want people around me. I just don't. He said, I don't even like it when the nurses come in the room and need to do what they need to do. He said, everything makes me anxious. He has severe panic and anxiety. He has PTSD from his prison days. Believe me, I'd be there. It's not a mom thing. It has nothing to do with my anxiety. I'm not sitting here with my son having procedures because of my anxiety. Trust me, I would double med to be able to be there with him. That's his decision, and he's 35. So I'm not going to force my way in. There's a text. They're taking me back out of the waiting area. What does that mean? They're taking me back out of the waiting area. So they're taking him back to his room, and they're going to put it on hold, which the doctor said may have to happen. I guess they can't get his blood pressure down to do it right now. He just texted. So what am I supposed to do, you guys? I can't make him, allow me to come up. It's like, there's nothing I can do about it. Can't do anything about it. I talk to him on the phone all the time. Anytime he needs me, I text. I'm doing everything that he will allow me to do. That's it. Bottom line there. Let's talk about mental health and widowhood. Because we've been talking about widowhood. We've been talking about anxiety, but we haven't put the two of them together. And someone asked about a P.O. box, for me to please get a P.O. box. Number one, P.O. boxes here are super expensive. I don't have the money for a P.O. box. And even if I did, I would not get a P.O. box. I've said so many times, please don't send me anything. Please don't send me anything. Just you being here, just being company, just giving me feedback, that kind of thing. That's all I want and all I need. I appreciate your thoughts, and I love you for it, but I really don't want anything. I really don't. So my diagnoses, when I was in my late 20s, I was officially diagnosed with severe panic and anxiety. Social anxiety, generalized anxiety, any kind of anxiety that's out there. They threw it all in the same bucket and then added in the panic attacks because they're different for me. Me being all the time anxious and then my panic attacks are two separate things. They feel differently for me. OCD. My OCD comes in the fact that I have to do everything like in a line, in a row. I need to get everything done. I like paperwork can't sit, it has to get done. And the house needs to be neat and clean, and everything needs to have its place. When I have like a list of things to do, I have to like mentally check off the boxes and then tell myself kind of over and over and over again, okay, you got to do this, now you're going to do this, now you're going to do this, now you're going to do this. I was diagnosed major depressive disorder. I've always said, like, I'm so on the fence with that diagnosis because I have my ups and downs, you know, but I never stayed down very long. I mean, becoming a widow, becoming the one left behind is a whole different kind of up and down. A whole different kind. Agoraphobia. For me, agoraphobia is not so much going out my door or having trouble going out my door, but it's being in large crowds, being in like concert crowds at this stage of the game, going into really busy restaurants or grocery stores or anything like that. Somebody's throwing junk in the dumpster right outside the window. Phone calls are a big thing with agoraphobia with me. I have to time all of my phone calls. I was really proud of myself this morning. I did 4 phone calls. I got everything, every phone call made that I had to make. I put it off since last week. I got everything done this morning. I got all of my answers that I needed to get. And I was really, really proud of myself for that. I feel like it took a lot out of me. So, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. A little different from post-traumatic stress disorder. Complex is when you've had multiple traumas. And I've had things happen from when I was a little girl, in through my teen years, in through my marriages, and then working in a trauma unit is a trauma when you see the things you see. And then going through the things like, you know, divorces, going through the prison life with my son, going through family turmoil and disconnect. There's been a lot of trauma. So I'm diagnosed CPTSD also. And I'm diagnosed BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. And I wasn't diagnosed with that one until in my middle 40s, like 42, 43, 44, like in there. The other ones, all of the OCD and all that, that all came about probably my late 30s with the psychiatrist I was seeing, who had been a psychiatrist forever. And when you look at all the diagnoses, they all kind of have a component that matches another one. So if you have OCD and you feel like you're not getting all the boxes marked in order, it's going to cause anxiety, and it's going to cause maybe panic, and it's going to cause you know, all this fear, which fear is a part of BPD. And so when you take all the diagnoses, you write them down on a piece of paper, and you write down all of the signs and symptoms of each one, you'd be surprised how many of them match up. It's the same thing with bipolar. So many mental health diagnoses are going to have components that are going to match with other diagnoses. So it's like this gigantic umbrella, and a lot of the diagnoses all fit under the umbrella. So the BPD one, and then this morning I saw a woman on TikTok, and she was visibly shaken, and she said, I'm going to journal my journey here on TikTok. My psychiatrist just diagnosed me BPD, where up until that time she was diagnosed as an alcoholic. She did some jail time, she said, disruption in her relationships, and so on and so forth. And every doctor she went to said, it's alcohol, it's alcohol. Finally, she went to another psychiatrist, gave out her life story. The psychiatrist says, it sounds like BPD to me, borderline personality disorder. So she said, you know, this is a pretty heavy diagnosis. This is what she's saying. This is a pretty heavy diagnosis because BPD doesn't get a good rap. on anything, YouTube videos or anything. What the psychiatrist said was the same thing that my last psychiatrist said and what my current psychiatrist has said. I don't treat the label, I treat the patient. I treat the person. And so when we get hung up in these labels, there's where we get stuck. So for me, I had a lot of turmoil as a kid. I saw a lot of people come and go. I saw people disappeared from my family and then reappeared a couple of times. My mom left a few times and came back, and a sister left. There was like, it was strange, you know, and you're trying to figure out like what's going on as a little kid. And then as I grew up and got married, the second man I was in a relationship with would constantly leave me. He would move me somewhere, and we were together 2 days and he would disappear. I would come home from work and he was gone. And then he would reappear and then he was gone. And this went on for more than 4 years. So I developed this constant fear of being abandoned. Like, when is he going to leave next time? When, like, I was expecting it, I knew. And I started to really cling to him so that he wouldn't leave. And but I was so angry over the fact that he did this to me so many times, that he would just leave me to pick up all the pieces of the apartment and get it emptied and get the finances straightened out and the lease and all that. Mood regulation is a big thing with BPD people. It's learning to stop for 5 or 10 seconds and think, what do you want to say? Or is anything worth being said? As a kid, I don't know how many of us were ever heard as a child. Were you heard? Did your parents hear you? Did your siblings hear you? Did your classmates hear you? Did your teachers hear you? Did anyone hear you when you spoke? I was never heard. I was never heard. And so you get to a point where you feel like the only way you can be heard is to get loud. And then I learned the louder I got, the less I was heard. So then I got to a point where am I ever going to be heard? Does my voice or my opinion or anything about me matter across the board? It creates very unstable relationships. You don't know where you belong. You don't know where you fit in. You don't know where you're supposed to be. Coming from a family of 7, where I was the only blue-eyed, blonde, left-handed kid in the family, I stuck out like a sore thumb because everyone else did not look like me at all. And I was not, my dad's daughter. I was, the product of an affair. And people let me know it. My siblings let me know it, and people that worked in stores let me know it, and I was constantly called the milkman's daughter. I struggled hard through my life. And it's really hard when you have 2 really bad relationships right off the bat. And then you get in a good relationship. By that time, you don't even know what a good relationship is. Like, you've been so scarred. I was so scarred from the first 2, I didn't even know that the third one was as good as it was. Then you ruin that because you're sure the same actions are going to happen that had already happened to you. Like, you're positive. You're going to go through that again with this man at some point. He's going to leave, he's going to leave. And so we get into this pattern of, I'm going to leave you before you leave me, to kind of give us some feeling as though we have some kind of power in our lives. We have something that we can say, okay, this is on me. What is that? Oh, okay. I'm in control of this, because we feel like we're totally out of control and our lives have been controlled by others for so long. And there's nothing good about BPD and on anything online. And luckily for me, my last 2 therapists, my last 2 psychiatrists, both said the same thing. We're just going to talk to you and treat you, and we're not going to go into what you're labeled. And so I appreciate that, because I have worked so hard on myself for so long with the panic, with the anxiety, with the OCD, with the agoraphobia, learning how to make the phone calls that I have to make, learning how to get into the store when I don't have a choice, learning how to communicate well and effectively and not feel as though I'm being attacked or attacking others, that I don't automatically have to go into that, oh my God, someone's attacking me. Someone is coming at me, because I had so many people come at me for so long that's all I knew. And I'm still working on all those things. I'd say I'm like 90% there. I'd like to say I'm like 95% there. After Sky passed away and everything changed for me and my whole life turned upside down, there's been a regression in the mood regulation. So it's been harder to regulate what do I feel. In some ways I feel like Sky abandoned me. Not that he wanted to, but he had to. And even with me begging him to stay, he couldn't. And so I went through some of that same mental stuff that I went through in past relationships. Please don't go, please don't go. And him saying, I don't want to go, was a comfort for me, but he still had to go. So there's been this turmoil, this awful turmoil with mood regulation. And I work hard on who I am. And if I mess up and I make a mistake, I definitely will try to fix that. I will go back, I will apologize, I will be a better me, constantly work to be a better me. And I'll ask for help. Do you think you can help me? Like, can you give me advice? Can you give me suggestions? Because no one wants to carry around any of these disorders. But when you're going through all this, after having someone in your life for 14 years who understood, like Sky got it, he understood my anxiety. He knew in the evenings it was going to get worse. He knew I was going to struggle harder. He knew what to say and he knew what to do for me. My doctor of 27 years is retiring next month. He's leaving. I have to start over. I see him next week for the last time. And that breaks my heart. He's been with me for 27 years and he's been with me through so many ups and downs. He was my dad's doctor, my mom's doctor. He's my youngest son's doctor. And he's an amazing PCP. And I'm going to really miss him. So I have to start over. And it's causing more anxiety in me. It's causing more like what if thinking. But the doctor that I'm going to is Sky's doctor, as far as I know. And so I'm very familiar with him, so that should ease the transition. When you have this many diagnoses, oh, it's the Culligan man. They're bringing water bottles into the office up there. When you have this many diagnoses, they can all be clumped into one thing. It's kind of like when they said, Sky had Parkinsonism. He had one of the facets of Parkinson's, but they didn't know which one, so they put it under the umbrella of Parkinson's until there was enough symptoms and signs, enough time went by that they were able to say it's MSA. So I have more anxiety, more generalized anxiety. I have more panic attacks now, more than ever. I have more insomnia, more severe insomnia now. I've tried putting on my fan for some background noise. I have a white noise machine that I've used a few times, but then I get afraid that if someone tries to break in, I won't be able to hear them. And so I keep the apartment, quiet so that I can hear in case of. I keep a night light on. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes the light will wake me up. So everything that I have been diagnosed is enhanced with my being the one left behind. Like the OCD, all of the paperwork that needed to get done, all the phone calls, all the emails, all the follow-ups on the follow-ups were hitting my brain and hitting my OCD harder than ever. The agoraphobia, going into the grocery store, just the fact of knowing that I wasn't buying food for Sky, that I had to concentrate on food for me, where all I ever did was concentrate on food for him, because he needed a special diet because of his lack of swallowing. And I thought, this is going to be so much harder for me. And it actually panicked me to try to figure out what to buy just for me. So every area of my diagnoses got more severe after Sky passed away. So I've had to work on them harder. I have to work on them more consistently. Giving up the car now. I had to go to the bank yesterday and I needed to get a ride. So my friend came down and got me. I felt bad. I felt guilt. He's 83 and he walks with a cane. And I'm like, man, I just should have got an Uber. Like this. But he said, I want to come down and get you. He had some errands to run anyway. He said, I have to go to the post office. I'll come down and get you. I'll get you where you need to be. And I was so appreciative. So you think you have, you're doing good, you have a handle on most things when you have diagnoses like this, and then something catastrophic happens. And I would get real bad when Kenny would go into solitary confinement, or when I moved out to Arizona for the couple weeks to try to transition to a new state. I got really bad again with the panic and anxiety and this intense fear in me that lives in me. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. So this woman who said I got a BPD diagnosis, so many comments. People were asking like, well, what are your symptoms? What are your signs? What did the doctor say? What was she looking for? Because some people are asking themselves, do I have that? Some people are saying, get a second and third opinion. And, like I'm saying, mental health diagnoses, almost all of them have at least 50 to 60% of the same symptoms, the exact same symptoms. Write them all down. If you have diagnoses, write down your diagnoses, write down your signs and symptoms, and see how many of them match up with another one. Mine, I can take all of mine and put it all under one umbrella because they all have that component. But I've had to work harder with less sleep. My heart has been doing this real weird, my heart hasn't gone through those spurts of elevation like it was doing. It doesn't do that anymore. It hasn't done it in weeks, thank goodness. But it'll do like little flips, and this is the only caffeine, well, it's decaf, so I don't know how much. I know there's a little caffeine in decaf, I believe, but this is the only coffee that I have. And I don't drink soda. I don't eat chocolate. The only chocolate that I have is the pure 100% cacao. Am I saying that right? Chocolate bars, the good stuff for your heart. Really bitter, but I'll have 1 square or 1/2 a square of those, every day or every evening, or in the middle of the afternoon, and that's it. So if you're dealing with a diagnosis, I'm sorry you are, because 1, it's tough to get the answers. 2, it's tough to talk to people about what you're going through, because sometimes you're ridiculed, sometimes you're made fun of, sometimes you're attacked, sometimes you're put up against the wall, sometimes you don't know how to respond to what someone is asking you or telling you. Sometimes everything feels like an attack, And so we just try to figure it out and make the best of it as we can. with me being on my own here, it's given me much more time to think and reflect and write things down and look at my things that match up. And I will actually do that. I will neaten up my page, and I'll show that on a future video as to what my diagnoses are, what the signs and symptoms that I have, because some people have some symptoms, some people don't. Some people have more, some people have less. There are some things with all of them that I have, and then some that I don't have at all. But I will make a neat and clean list so that it can be read, and we can talk about, you know, what they are. And even a lot of the medications are pretty similar in, you know, there's the old standard of Zoloft, and then there's your benzos, which aren't prescribed much anymore, but still are here and there, and your SSRIs and your, you know, there's so many things out there to try to fix the imbalances that doctors feel we have in our brains. And a lot of the times it just comes down to how we were raised up and the people that we allowed in our lives and what they did to us, depending on how their lives were. And so sometimes we get like second degree brunt. You know, we didn't cause it, but we get it because they got it. So if I had a husband who saw his dad beat on his mother, there was a good chance he was going to beat on me, and he did. A couple of husbands. And then I got to a place where this is the norm. And so it's just, the whole thing is just interesting. And now being without Sky, I have my moments of feeling abandoned. And this is, like I've said it before, this is the first time I've been alone like this since I was in my 20s. And even in my 20s, when I was alone, talking about being alone, the man that I was involved with for 4 years, he would come and go. So I wasn't constantly alone like I am now. So this is a whole new ball game for me. I'm rolling into my 5th month since he passed. And so it is a whole new ball game of pretty much 24/7 being on my own. And if I talk on the phone, it's a business call that I've had to make. It's a must call, you know. It's not a chatty talk with a girlfriend call. It's either compassionate care with a trained professional or a business call that I had to make. So in talking with my care team, the advice I constantly am given is get outside and take a walk. You know, whether you put music in your earbuds, but just get out in the air and get your body moving and do some stretches. And, you know, anything that you can calm down the nervous system. And we all have anxiety built into us. We have a natural anxiety that is with us from birth on, and that anxiety is to actually save our lives. I've talked about it before where, you know, we have a certain amount of anxiety, like if we're driving and a car stops suddenly in front of us, we know to hit the brake, right? That's a thing that's built into us to save us. And that's a natural, normal kind. But then there's the kind like I have, where I'm constantly shaking and nervous and pacing and questioning and looking and wondering and, you know, feeling very frightened. And a lot of what if thinking. What if I end up on the street? What if I can't find another home? What if I go through all the what ifs? It's difficult. It's difficult. So if you're going through this, you have a friend in me. I'm going to go, and I want to say thanks for choosing me. You know, I always tell you that. You could choose 100 channels. Thanks for choosing me and staying with me and allowing me to go on and on. But I would say just, you know, have some flashlights I'm going to get a little radio that's battery operated in case of. I want to make sure I get at least 2 flashlights, because I realize I don't have a flashlight other than my phone. And I always have extra water, so I'm good there. But maybe some healthy snacks, some nuts and things like that that are in little packaging. You know, just in case of. I have plenty of medicine type things, and I have a little bag with things in, little supplies. The world's kind of, you know, we're a little topsy-turvy right now, and our weather has been a little bit different, and so I think it's just a matter of, same as when you prepare yourself for a long distance trip, you prepare yourself to go to the hospital to have a baby, you prepare yourself for anything big you're going to do. Prepare yourself for the what ifs, you know, just be prepared for who knows, because if that weird thing happens, you've got what you need. You don't have to worry about, oh man, I never thought to get a flashlight. That's it. I will keep you guys posted on my son. It looks like they couldn't get his blood pressure down enough to do the procedure right now, so it sounds like they moved him out of the waiting area, and I will text with him, or hopefully he'll call me, or I'll call him, find out what's going on and see when they're going to schedule it again. The doctor said that this might happen. The doctor said that this might happen, that they might have to come up with a second date if they can't get all the numbers right for him in order to do this, because it's a very touchy procedure given the state of his heart. And believe me, if he wanted me there with him, I would be there in a heartbeat. Yeah, no one needs to sit and think about why isn't she there. She wants to be there, and more than anything, because if I can go into a prison and I can sit in a prison with all the inmates in there and all the guards and all the family members and all of that stuff that I would go through the metal detector, all the clanking of the cell, all that, if I could do all that, I can go to a surgery center and be with my son. Remember, I worked in a hospital in intensive care for 10 years. I can do that. I can emotionally and physically do that. That's not what he wants. And so I wait, you know. So you guys take care of each other, take care of yourself first, give yourself the oxygen mask first, right? And know that I love you, and thank you for being here. And I do need my family, and thanks for choosing me.